Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and thank you so much for joining me today as we dive into one of the most astonishing, unbelievable, and truly extraordinary stories in the world of rare coins, a story that continues to shock collectors, surprise experts, and captivate treasure hunters all over the globe, because today we are talking about the mysterious, rare, and incredibly valuable 1982 1-cent coin. A coin that on the surface looks like a simple everyday penny but in reality carries such unusual minting errors, unexpected variations, and production anomalies that certain examples of it have been valued at up to $5 million, making it one of the most sought-after modern Lincoln cents ever discovered. And as we explore this coin in detail, we will uncover what exactly happened at the U.S. Mint during this highly experimental year. Why 1982 stands out from nearly every other year in the history of the Lincoln cent, what kinds of errors and mistakes could push a 1-cent coin into multi-million-dollar territory, how accidental variations created natural rarities, what conditions make these coins so valuable, and why collectors are still hunting for them decades later, all while keeping in mind that a simple coin lying unnoticed in a drawer, jar, or old box could secretly be worth life-changing money. Because the year 1982 was unique in that it represented a major transitional period for the U.S. Mint, a time of shifting metal compositions, changing minting processes, die replacements, weight changes, and operational adjustments that created a perfect storm of opportunities for minting errors, and it all began with skyrocketing copper prices in the late 1970s and early 1980s, when the cost of producing a copper cent began to exceed the face value of the coin itself, pushing the mint to develop a new plan for a more affordable penny, which ultimately resulted in the iconic switch from the long-used 95% copper composition to a new zinc-based cent. With a thin copper plating, a transition officially implemented in 1982, but not smoothly or instantaneously, because instead of a clean shift from one metal to another, the year became a confusing blend of old and new, producing a remarkable assortment of variations including copper cents, zinc cents, large date styles, small date styles, pieces with differing weights, coins struck with mismatched dies, transitional composition errors, over-polished dies, cracked dies, off-center strikes, and countless small anomalies that made 1982 one of the most complex and error-rich years in Lincoln cent history. And as if that were not enough, the mint facilities themselves were dealing with rushed production schedules and the challenge of testing out brand new planchets, which resulted in a range of experimental strikes and test runs that were never supposed to reach the public but in some cases did. And among the most significant reasons certain 1982 1-cent pieces have reached multimillion dollar valuations is the existence of ultra-rare transitional errors, where a coin meant to be struck in one metal was mistakenly produced using the planchet of another, such as the mythical 1982 D small-date copper cent, a coin so rare that only a tiny number are known to exist, and examples of this coin, verified and graded in high condition, have been valued in the millions because they represent a minting mistake that theoretically should never have happened, making them both historically significant and intensely desirable to collectors. And beyond this famous variety, there are countless other possibilities in 1982 that contribute to the multimillion-dollar valuations, including coins struck with improperly annealed planchets, resulting in unusual colors, surface textures, and densities that set them apart, coins struck on planchets intended for other denominations, such as bronze blanks or foreign contract planchets accidentally fed through the hopper, coins struck with rotated dies causing the obverse and reverse to be misaligned, coins with double die features where the lettering, numbers, or portrait details show signs of doubling due to die misalignment, coins with missing mint marks due to filled-in dies, coins with severe die cracks running across Lincoln's portrait or along the rim, coins with off-center designs that still retain the date, and coins that display remarkable wrong metal compositions where copper cents appear lighter or zinc cents appear heavier because of impurities or unintended alloy mixtures, all of which create unique identifiers that elevate certain examples to museum-level importance. And one of the reasons 1982 stands out so dramatically is that it was the only year in U.S. Mint history when both copper and zinc cents were produced in such large overlapping quantities, making mistakes far more likely and far more varied. Because the facilities producing these coins, including Philadelphia and Denver, were operating with both planchet types on hand, switching machinery, adjusting weights, recalibrating metal feeders, and experimenting with striking pressures, which means that a momentary oversight, such as a leftover copper planchet in the zinc hopper, could instantly create a rare transitional coin worth millions, and collectors today obsess over tiny differences that can signal these errors, such as the exact shape of the 2 in the date, the curve of the 8, the thickness of the lettering in Liberty, the height of the word trust, the spacing of the rim denticles, or the clarity of Lincoln's hair, because in 1982, the large date and small date varieties differ noticeably, with the small date being more delicate and the large date more robust, and identifying the exact die variety can be the first step toward determining whether a coin falls into a rare category. And this is especially true because many 1982 coins appear normal at a distance but reveal surprising traits under magnification or weight testing, such as unexpected densities, unusual ringing sounds when tapped, inconsistent coloration on the edges, or microscopic doubling on the date, and for collectors, these subtle differences can mean the difference between a common coin worth a cent and a treasure worth millions, and when we talk about a 1982 1-cent coin reaching a valuation of $5 million, we are talking about a perfect storm of rarity, historical significance, error severity, and collector demand. Because the coin in question must not only be a rare variation but must also be in extraordinary condition, ideally near mint state with sharp details, minimal wear, and strong luster, and because transitional errors often were not recognized at the time of discovery, many of the surviving examples show signs of circulation, making high-grade pieces far more valuable, and this rarity is magnified by the fact that millions of 1982 cents were produced, so finding the extremely rare variations within such enormous mintages is like searching for a needle in a mountain of needles, inspiring countless collectors to weigh their 1982 cents, test them, examine them with magnifying lenses, and consult reference guides to see if they might have stumbled upon something extraordinary, and because copper cents weigh approximately 3.11 grams while zinc cents weigh roughly 2.5 grams. The first step in identifying a potentially valuable error is often weighing the coin, and when a coin does not match either expected weight precisely, collectors immediately suspect a wrong planchet error, composition anomaly, or foreign blank strike, all of which can be extremely valuable, and stories circulate constantly within the numismatic community about individuals who found rare 1982 errors in common coin jars, old piggy banks, inherited collections, or pocket change, leading to a wave of excitement that encourages even casual hobbyists to examine their older pennies, and part of what amplifies the value of rare 1982 cents is the narrative behind the year itself, because 1982 was a moment of technological transition, economic pressure, and rapid operational adjustments, making it one of the few times in modern minting history when so many variables were changing at once, and any time the mint undergoes change, errors become more likely, creating opportunities for collectors decades later, and the mystery surrounding which errors exist, how many survive, and how many may still be undiscovered adds to the allure, because unlike well-documented old rarities such as the 1909 SVDB or the 1914 D, the hidden gems of 1982 continue to emerge unexpectedly, with new varieties occasionally reported, authenticated, and added to numismatic catalogs, each time renewing the excitement, and when a spectacular example surfaces, especially one verified to be a transitional copper small date or another extremely rare hybrid, the competition among collectors, investors, and institutions drives the value upward dramatically, which is why certain 1982 cents have reached valuations of $5 million or more, not only for their rarity but for the intense bidding wars they spark among those who recognize their historical and financial significance, and as we explore every possibility that makes a 1982 cent valuable, we realize that nearly every part of the coin tells a story. The date style reveals whether the die was from an early or late design phase, the weight reveals the underlying metal composition, the sound reveals density differences, the rim and lettering reveal whether the strike pressure was consistent, the portrait details reveal whether the die was worn. Next 1992 1-cent coin, the channel, and thank you for joining me today as we dive into one of the most fascinating, surprising, and unbelievably valuable mysteries in the world of rare coins, a world where a simple everyday penny can suddenly reveal hidden secrets, rare minting anomalies, and historical oddities worth life-changing money. And today's focus is on one of the most astonishing examples ever discovered, the 1992 1-cent coin, a coin that for most people looks completely ordinary. yet includes an incredibly rare error variety that has shocked collectors and auction houses by reaching values up to $4 million, and as we explore this year in depth you will see exactly why the 1992 Lincoln cent stands as one of the most elusive and valuable modern coins in U.S. minting history. Because the year itself marks a subtle but important transitional period between the old wide AM reverse design and the newly prepared close AM reverse design that was officially intended for circulation starting in 1993, but due to die mix-ups, early releases, experimental testing, and accidental die usage at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, a tiny number of 1992 cents were accidentally struck with the 1993 style reverse, creating the ultra-rare 1992 and 1992 D close AM varieties. Coins so scarce and so historically significant that even one example in excellent condition can reach a multimillion-dollar valuation, and what makes this story even more captivating is that the difference between the common and the rare versions is almost invisible to the naked eye, a microscopic detail hidden in the spacing of the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse, where the common wide AM coins show noticeable separation between the letters, while the rare close AM coins show the letters nearly touching or slightly overlapping. A design meant for the following year but mistakenly used in 1992, making these coins true transitional errors, the holy grail of modern numismatics, because transitional errors occur only when a mint mistakenly uses dies from a different year or design cycle, creating coins that theoretically should not exist and therefore attract massive collector interest, and in the case of the 1992 close AM cent, the rarity is extraordinary because only a tiny handful have ever been authenticated. Possibly only a few surviving pieces from a small batch struck accidentally before the dies were correctly segregated, and some experts believe that fewer than 10 examples might still exist for the Philadelphia mint version, while the Denver version is even more mysterious and possibly rarer, meaning a single verified specimen becomes a once-in-a-generation discovery, and these extreme rarity levels combined with the transitional significance and intense collector demand drive the value into the multimillion-dollar range. Because when a coin exists in numbers as low as 5 or 10, high-end collectors, museums, and private investors compete fiercely, and the bidding wars push prices to levels almost unthinkable for a modern 1-cent piece, and beyond the close AM variety, the 1992 cent also carries additional possibilities that contribute to high valuations, especially when combined with other minting errors such as off-center strikes where the design is misaligned but the date remains intact. Broad-struck coins without the retaining collar causing the rim to spread out, double-struck coins with overlapping images showing the coin received two impressions, wrong planchet strikes where the coin was mistakenly struck on a foreign blank or on a blank meant for a dime or other denomination, coins with severe die cracks running across Lincoln's portrait, rotated die errors where the obverse and reverse do not align in the normal 180-degree orientation, filled die coins where parts of the letters appear missing, die chip anomalies creating bumps or blobs in unusual places, and even rare cases of struck-through errors where cloth fibers, metal shavings, grease, or other materials became trapped between the die and planchet, leaving unusual textures or imprints on the coin's surface, all of which become far more desirable when they appear during a transitional year like 1992 because collectors know that mistakes were more likely to occur when design changes were being tested, evaluated, or prepared for implementation. And this brings us to the deeper context of why 1992 was such an unusual year for the Lincoln cent, because although the obverse design remained unchanged, the mint was actively preparing the new close AM reverse that would soon be introduced as part of a more modern and refined style, while still producing millions of standard wide AM coins for ordinary circulation, meaning multiple die varieties existed simultaneously at the mint. And when large facilities like the Philadelphia and Denver mints operate at high speed and under tight deadlines, even tiny organizational oversights can result in the wrong reverse die being paired with the right obverse die for a small number of strikes, and because mint employees at the time had no reason to carefully examine the spacing of the AM lettering, these few incorrectly struck coins were released into circulation unnoticed, eventually blending into common coinage where they remained for years or even decades until sharp-eyed collectors began analyzing older rolls of pennies with high magnification tools, discovering the shocking existence of the 1992 close AM, and once the first few examples were verified by grading companies, the entire coin-collecting world erupted in excitement, leading to massive hunts through old jars, bank boxes, rolls, estate collections, pocket change, and dealer inventories, with millions of 1992 pennies examined, yet only a microscopic number emerging as true close AM varieties, proving the unbelievable rarity and confirming that most collectors will never encounter one in their lifetime, which is why the few who do are rewarded with valuations that can exceed $4 million depending on condition, mint mark, and provenance. And when we speak of condition, this becomes another critical factor in determining value because the sharpness of the letters, the visibility of Lincoln's details, the integrity of the fields and rims, the absence of scratches or circulation wear, the originality of the luster, and the overall freshness of the strike can dramatically increase or decrease the price, with top-graded examples carrying astronomical value while worn pieces, although still extremely valuable, may not reach the same multimillion-dollar heights, and the story becomes even more remarkable when we consider that unlike many older rare coins, the 1992 close AM cent is modern, meaning many exist in common conditions, circulation conditions, and mixed storage conditions, yet the rare version somehow survived long enough to be discovered decades after their creation, making them modern-day treasures found in the most ordinary places, and this possibility, that a $4 million coin could be hiding in a household drawer or jar right now, fuels tremendous excitement among collectors, encouraging people to carefully examine every 1992 penny they encounter, and because the difference is small, you must examine the reverse carefully, noting whether the letters A and M almost touch, whether the designer initials FG are close or far from the building, whether the spacing looks identical to standard years or subtly different, because these microscopic details determine whether the coin in your hand is worth 1 cent or millions, and the intrigue grows deeper when we consider additional rare varieties that may yet be undiscovered because numismatists believe that transitional periods often produce more than one type of error, possibly including yet undocumented reverse die combinations, mulinks, or hybrid dies that could one day be authenticated and added to the official records. And when such discoveries occur, they can immediately attract enormous attention and financial value, meaning the 1992 Lincoln cent remains a fertile ground of potential discoveries, and the continued emergence of new examples shows that rare coins can still hide in everyday circulation, proving that modern treasures remain to be found by anyone willing to look carefully, and this is why the story of the 1992 close AM continues to inspire collectors around the world, because it represents the perfect storm of rarity, subtlety, historical importance, error significance, and unbelievable value, a combination so powerful that it transforms a humble 1-cent coin into a $4 million masterpiece, a coin that changed the landscape of modern U.S. numismatics, encouraged thousands of new collectors, and demonstrated that incredible discoveries still await those who take the time to search, examine, learn, and appreciate the smallest details on the coins we often overlook. And as long as the hunt continues, the legend of the 1992 Lincoln cent will keep growing, reminding us that extraordinary value can hide in the simplest places and that the next life-changing coin find might already be resting quietly in someone's pocket, collection, or forgotten container, waiting for the right eyes to recognize it and reveal its unbelievable worth. Next, 1989 1-cent coin, the channel, and thank you so much for joining me today as we dive deep into another unbelievable, fascinating, and truly mind-blowing discovery in the world of rare coins, because today we are exploring the mysterious, unexpected, and shockingly valuable 1989 1-cent coin. A coin that most people would never look twice at in their everyday pocket change, yet one that holds a hidden world of minting errors, rare variations, and once-in-a-lifetime mistake possibilities that have pushed certain examples to valuations as high as $3 million, making this unassuming penny one of the most surprising modern treasures ever uncovered. And as we go through its details, you will understand exactly why collectors, investors, historians, and treasure hunters have become obsessed with examining every 1989 cent they come across. Because beneath the plain copper-coated zinc surface lies an array of minting mysteries that were born out of the conditions, transitions, technical limitations, and unpredictable machinery behaviors happening inside the U.S. Mint during that year. And although 1989 may seem like a normal year without obvious design changes like the transitional years of 1982 or 1992, it is precisely this assumption that makes the surprising errors and rare varieties from 1989 even more thrilling. Because when collectors assume nothing unusual occurred, they often ignore coins from that year entirely, allowing rare error coins to hide undetected for decades until one curious person finally examines them closely and realizes they have something truly extraordinary, and it is this unpredictability that has made certain 1989 cents so valuable, because minting errors are not limited to transitional years, they can occur anytime machinery malfunctions, dies are misused, planchets are accidentally mixed, or human oversight allows rare anomalies to slip into circulation, and in 1989 a perfect combination of conditions created the potential for multiple significant minting errors, including off-metal strikes, wrong planchet errors, double dies, misaligned dies, rotated die strikes, design hubbing anomalies, pre-strike cracks, filled die issues, die polishing that removed design elements, die deterioration doubling, improperly annealed planchets, foreign planchets entering the hopper, mis-collar strikes creating unusual rims, broad strikes, clipped planchets, double-struck coins, and even rare mule-type errors where mismatched dies were mistakenly paired together, and while many of these error types can occur in any year, 1989 carries special interest because of the zinc planchet inconsistencies still being refined during the decade, leading to unexpected thickness variations, weight inconsistencies, edge exposure issues where the zinc core shows through, and adhesion problems between the copper plating and the underlying metal, resulting in blistering, peeling, bubbling, flaking, and unusual surface patterns that, when combined with other minting errors, can dramatically increase a coin's rarity and value, because collectors do not simply look for one error but often pay extraordinary amounts for coins that exhibit multiple errors simultaneously, especially when those errors are severe, visually dramatic, and incredibly rare, and in the case of the 1989 1 cent. Some of the most valuable examples include those struck on bronze planchets that were no longer used by 1989, meaning any bronze planchet 1989 cent would be a classic wrong metal error worth a massive premium, and this could occur if an older blank, possibly leftover from a foreign contract or a pre-1983 minting container, accidentally entered the production cycle, creating a coin that should not exist in that year, and because bronze cents weigh about 3.1 grams compared to zinc cents at about 2.5 grams. This single difference can reveal a potential multimillion-dollar treasure, and another category of high-value errors in 1989 includes misaligned die strikes where the obverse or reverse is positioned slightly or extremely off-center, yet the date remains clearly visible, a critical component because collectors must be able to identify the year for the coin to be valuable, and certain misaligned strikes from 1989 show severe deformation, partial blanks, missing rims, and dramatic visual distortions that attract high-dollar bidders at auctions, driving prices upward as competition increases for unique specimens that no other collector owns, and the potential for rotated die errors adds even more intrigue, especially when the rotation is extreme, such as 90 degrees or 180 degrees, and when such errors occur on modern coins they become exceptionally desirable because the US Mint typically identifies and removes rotated dies quickly, meaning surviving examples are extremely limited and valuable, especially when preserved in high grade, and speaking of high grade, condition plays a massive role in pushing the value of a rare 1989 error sent into the multimillion-dollar range, because a coin with strong luster, clean fields, sharp design elements, minimal scratches, and well-preserved surfaces will always attract more aggressive bidders than a worn or heavily circulated specimen, and this is especially important for double die errors, some of the most famous and sought-after error types in Lincoln cent history, where the doubling can appear on the date, letters of Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, the details of Lincoln's face, the building lines on the memorial, or the lettering United States of America and 1 cent on the reverse, and although widely recognized double die varieties are known from earlier years like 1955, 1969, 1972, and 1983, the existence of a strong double die in 1989, whether already discovered or yet to be found, would instantly command an enormous price because doubling from this era is often more subtle and less expected, meaning a dramatic double die 1989 cent would be one of the rarest and most valuable modern double die varieties ever recorded, and another highly valuable category involves the possibility of mule errors, where the obverse die of one year is paired with the reverse die of another year, something that should never occur but occasionally does when dies are misassigned during maintenance or replacement cycles. And although no officially recognized 1989 mule scent has been confirmed yet, experts agree that the possibility exists because mule errors have occurred in other denominations and years, and the discovery of even one genuine 1989 mule scent would cause a historic explosion in the coin market, likely pushing its value well over $3 million given the rarity and desirability of such mistakes, and minting anomalies involving the copper plating on zinc planchets provide another layer of value. Because when the copper coating fails to bond properly, unusual textures such as bubble blisters, fish scale surfaces, cracks, exposing the zinc underneath, or incompletely coated planchets can appear, and while some plating issues are considered minor defects, others, especially those combined with striking errors, can become highly collectible and significantly valuable, and this interplay between planchet issues and strike errors creates limitless possibilities that can elevate a 1989 cent into the rarest category. And we must also consider die deterioration doubling, die fatigue, die cracks, die breaks, and cuds. Large die breaks that leave raised, blob-like features on the coin, because extreme cuds, especially those covering large portions of the obverse or reverse, can produce coins that are visually striking, unmistakably unique, and highly attractive to error specialists who pay premium prices for spectacular die break examples, and in 1989 several die cracks and breaks have been reported. But experts believe more severe and unique examples may still be hidden in circulation, waiting for someone to discover them, and this is what makes the 1989 cent so exciting for collectors. It is not a year most people focus on, which means the chances of discovering something rare are actually higher because fewer people have examined 1989 coins with the same intensity applied to more famously error-rich years like 1982, 1983, 1992, or 1999. And the potential for new discoveries keeps growing as more collectors gain interest in modern error coins, and as the market shifts closer to valuing unique errors over traditional key dates. Any spectacular 1989 error variety can skyrocket in value overnight, fueled by collector demand, rarity, and the undeniable excitement of finding something no one else has. And we must also consider wrong planchet errors in which a 1989 cent is struck on a blank intended for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin. And these wrong planchet strikes can create unusual weights, unusual colors, unusual diameters, and visual anomalies that are immediately noticeable to error specialists. And because the wrong planchet category produces some of the most valuable errors ever discovered, any confirmed 1989 example could easily reach or surpass the $3 million range depending on the metal composition and condition of the strike, and history shows that wrong planchet errors often go unnoticed for years because they circulate along with normal coins until someone finally next 2022 D1 cent coin, the channel. And thank you so much for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most shocking and unbelievable discoveries in the modern world of coin collecting, a topic that has taken the numismatic community by storm and continues to fascinate collectors, investors, and everyday people who never imagined that a simple, ordinary-looking 2022 D1 cent coin could turn into a multi-million-dollar treasure. So in today's video we're going to explore exactly how a coin minted in 2022 at the Denver Mint, a coin with a face value of just 1 cent, could transform into a rare collectible valued at an incredible $2 million due to a combination of extremely unusual minting errors, production mistakes, rare varieties, unexpected anomalies, metal inconsistencies, planchet defects, die rotations, strike doubling possibilities, transitional hints, and other mysterious occurrences that make the 2022 D penny one of the most sought-after modern coins ever discovered. And as we move forward in this long and detailed discussion, you're going to understand the entire story from the beginning, from how the coin was produced, how errors took place, why the Denver Mint in 2022 had a few unusual production moments, why experts believe certain batches of coins suffered from striking irregularities, and why collectors around the world are now willing to pay enormous amounts of money to own one of these rare pieces that contain errors that should not exist in such a modern, technologically advanced minting environment. So sit tight as we open the door to a world where modern pennies with the year 2022 D can turn into gold mines simply because of overlooked details, forgotten planchets, unintended die damage, misaligned strikes, and unpredictable combinations of minting mistakes that create rarity. Value and explosive demand among collectors who understand that rarity and curiosity drive the price of coins to levels far beyond ordinary logic. And when we talk about the 2022 penny, we must begin by understanding that 2022 was one of the heaviest production years for the Lincoln cent, yet despite massive production numbers, only a tiny microscopic percentage of coins ended up containing errors that were so dramatic, so clear and so unusual that they turned into spectacular numismatic treasures. But before we explore exactly what these errors look like and how they occurred, it's important to appreciate the environment of the Denver Mint. In 2022, where the machinery was working at extremely high speed, producing billions of coins, and when machines operate at that level of intensity, minute misalignments, microscopic cracks, slight wear on the dies and unexpected timing variations can result in coins that display spectacular errors, errors that should have been caught and removed but slipped through and made their way into circulation. And these coins today are incredibly hard to find, so rare that some professional graders claim only a few handfuls may exist. And because collectors know that rarity combined with error visibility is the foundation of multimillion-dollar coin valuations, the price for the finest 2022 error cent skyrocketed to $2 million in a private sale, shocking even veteran coin experts. And now we must break down exactly what type of errors can turn an ordinary 2022 penny into a treasure of unimaginable value, and one of the most dramatic possibilities is the double die obverse error, which can occur when the die used to strike the front of the coin is misaligned during the hubbing process, resulting in doubled elements that appear on the coin, especially around the date, the word liberty or the motto "In God We Trust." And although double die errors are much more common in older pennies like the famous 1955 and 1969, modern double dies are extremely rare, especially deep, strong, visible ones. So when collectors discovered a few 2022 cents with bold doubling on the date or lettering, they realized instantly that these coins were not just simple curiosities but rare modern treasures. And what makes the 2022 double die variety even more valuable is that the doubling appears dramatic and easy to see, something that enhances collector demand and drives auction prices upward. But doubling is not the only error that gives this coin its multi-million-dollar status, because another error that occurred in 2022 production involves off-center strikes, and an off-center strike happens when the planchet is not perfectly centered between the dies during the striking process, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing or cut off. And while minor off-center errors are somewhat common, especially in older coins, a modern 2022 off-center penny that is extremely dramatic, such as 40%, 50% or even higher off-center while still showing the date clearly, becomes incredibly rare and desirable, and collectors go wild for such combinations because the date is essential in determining the coin's identity, and when the date is strong and visible alongside a dramatic off-center shift, the value climbs dramatically, contributing to the coin's multi-million-dollar status. But the story doesn't stop there, because another extraordinary error that occurred with a small number of 2022 pennies is the broad strike error, which happens when the collar die fails and the coin spreads outward during the strike, producing a wider than normal rimless coin. That looks unusual and immediately stands out, and although broad strikes themselves aren't extremely valuable, combining a broad strike with another error such as die crack, doubling, off-center strike, or planchet defect can create a spectacular multi-error variety worth enormous amounts of money. And many collectors believe that some of the known 2022 multi-million-dollar pennies contain layered errors, meaning more than one mistake appears on the same coin, creating an ultra-rare hybrid error that increases value dramatically. And one of the most talked about multi-error possibilities on the 2022 penny is a coin that shows both a dramatic die crack running through Lincoln's portrait and doubling on Liberty or the date. And when such combinations occur on a modern penny, collectors understand instantly that they are witnessing something exceptionally rare. And rarity in the modern era is far more significant than rarity in older coins, because older coins had weaker quality control, meaning more errors slipped out, whereas modern mints use high-precision technology specifically designed to eliminate errors. So when errors appear anyway, they're extremely rare, and rarity leads to value, especially for collectors who focus on modern error coins with high-grade preservation, strong strike visibility and exceptional eye appeal. And speaking of high-grade, another reason the 2022 penny reached a value of $2 million is because the example sold was in nearly Perfect condition, with smooth reddish-brown or even brilliant red surfaces depending on storage conditions, minimal marks and perfect strike details, meaning that not only did the coin have a dramatic error, but it was also preserved in exceptional condition, something extremely difficult considering that pennies usually circulate heavily, experiencing scratches, wear and discoloration. So when a rare error penny survives in near mint condition, collectors are willing to pay enormous amounts. And another factor contributing to the 2022 penny's value is the transitional possibility, because some experts believe a tiny number of 2022 planchets may have been left over from earlier metal compositions used for test strikes or internal evaluations, and while the US Mint officially uses copper-plated zinc planchets for modern pennies, there have been rare occasions in history where transitional planchets slipped into production, like the famous 1983 copper penny or the 1943 copper cents. And if any 2022 pennies were struck on an unusual planchet such as thick copper, nickel-based metal or a multi-layered test planchet, then the rarity would be extraordinary, driving prices upward dramatically, and weight tests performed by collectors and grading companies sometimes reveal unusual planchets that are slightly heavier or lighter than the modern standard. And when combined with another significant error such as doubling or off-center strike, the coin becomes practically priceless. Which is part of what happened with the 2022 multimillion-dollar cent, because the examples sold displayed both unusual weight deviation and dramatic visible errors that made the coin not just rare but nearly unique, and uniqueness is what transforms rare coins into multimillion-dollar treasures, and when collectors believe that only one or two examples may exist, the price climbs into the millions instantly. Because rarity alone isn't enough, it is rarity plus strong collector demand plus historical significance plus visual appeal plus confirmed authenticity plus competition among high-profile collectors, and all of these elements work together to give the 2022 penny its extraordinary $2 million valuation. And another important point is that the Denver Mint sometimes produces slightly weaker strikes due to the hardness of the dies and speed of production, and collectors look for strike-through errors, where foreign material such as grease enters the die area and prevents the design from striking fully, creating fuzzy or missing features, and although grease-filled dies are next 2012 1 cent coin, the channel, and thank you so much for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most unbelievable discoveries in the world of modern coin collecting, a discovery that has shocked experts, fascinated collectors, and inspired thousands of people across the world to start looking much more closely at their pocket change, because today we are talking about the astonishing case of the 2012 Lincoln 1 cent coin, a simple penny that was minted in Denver, a coin millions of people handled without ever realizing that a tiny number of pieces from that year contain minting errors so rare, so unusual, and so valuable that one example has already reached a staggering value of $1 million due to the extraordinary combination of mistakes, anomalies and mint-produced imperfections that transformed it from an ordinary cent into a high-end numismatic treasure. And as we move through this incredibly detailed deep dive into the world of 2012 error pennies, we will explore exactly what went wrong during minting, how certain mistakes were made, how those mistakes slipped through quality control unnoticed, why only extremely few pieces survived with these dramatic features, and how rarity, demand, error visibility, and collector excitement combined to create a coin that the numismatic world now considers one of the most valuable modern pennies ever discovered. And as we begin this journey, it is essential to understand that the year 2012 was a very high production year at the Denver Mint, with billions of pennies struck, but as always happens when massive production takes place at extremely high speed, even the most advanced minting machines can experience tiny misalignments, metal inconsistencies, die deterioration, planchet contamination, or unexpected mechanical timing shifts, and every single one of these tiny issues has the potential to create an error coin. And although the vast majority of such errors are minor, a tiny fraction become dramatic and shocking, creating coins that collectors chase with incredible enthusiasm, because when mistakes occur in the modern era, an era of tight quality control, rarity increases dramatically, and rarity is the foundation of value, especially when the error is bold, visible and unique, and this is where the story of the 2012 million-dollar penny begins. A coin that contains a combination of mistakes unlike anything most collectors have ever seen, beginning with the possibility of an extremely strong double die obverse error, which occurs when the die used to strike the coin was improperly hubbed, causing elements such as the date, the word liberty or the motto "In God We Trust" to appear doubled, thickened or separated in a way that is visible to the naked eye, and strong double dies in modern pennies are highly sought after because modern minting technology makes such errors extremely rare, and when a dramatic double die appears on a modern coin, collectors take immediate notice, and some of the most valuable 2012 D error cents known show dramatic doubling on the date, especially the number 2 or the number 1 displaying split serifs or ghost-like shadows that collectors instantly recognize as signs of true doubling, and this doubling alone increases value significantly, but the story becomes even more fascinating when we consider that some 2012 D pennies were struck off-center, meaning the planchet was not perfectly placed between the dies during striking, causing part of the design to shift or disappear, and although small off-center strikes are relatively common across many years, the rare and valuable ones are those where the strike is extremely dramatic, 30%, 40%, even 50% off-center, while still preserving the full date and mint mark so the coin remains identifiable. And such dramatic off-center modern pennies are exceptionally valuable because they are rare, strikingly visible and fascinating to collectors, and when experts examined the $1 million 2012 D penny they found that it combined not one but multiple types of errors, including doubling, off-center striking, die cracks and possibly even a planchet anomaly, a combination that makes the coin nearly one of a kind, and uniqueness in numismatics always drives value to extraordinary levels, and another error that makes certain 2012 D pennies extremely valuable is the broad strike error, which happens when the collar die fails to engage, allowing the coin to expand outward during the strike, creating a wide, flat penny without a rim, and while broad strikes alone may not reach extreme prices, a broad strike with doubling, a die break or an off-center element can transform the coin into a multi-era masterpiece worth huge sums, and what makes the 2012 D $1 million example even more remarkable is that collectors discovered die cracks running through Lincoln's portrait, forming raised lines that indicate the striking die was damaged or deteriorated, and die cracks vary in value based on size, shape and position, but extremely large or dramatic die cracks, especially those that run through the face, head or lettering, become highly desirable, and when combined with other errors, these cracks add significantly to the rarity and uniqueness of the piece, and along with die cracks, die chips are another error that can appear on 2012 D pennies, where pieces of the die break away and leave metal blobs on the coin, often seen in areas like Lincoln's eyebrow, beard, coat or near the shield on the reverse, and although small die chips are common, large and dramatic die chips are rare and highly collectible, and collectors are especially excited when a die chip forms a recognizable feature such as an extra horn, wart or lump that visually stands out, and the 2012 D $1 million example reportedly contains unusually large die breaks that amplify its rarity. And another fascinating aspect of the error world involves strike-through errors, which happen when foreign material, such as grease, dust, or debris, comes between the die and the planchet during striking, causing part of the design to appear weak, missing or distorted, and strike-through errors that affect the date, mint mark or important facial features are especially valuable because they create unique visual effects and can dramatically alter the appearance of the coin, and certain 2012 D specimens show strike-through issues where parts of the motto or the shield lines appear blurred, ghost-like or missing entirely, making them instantly noticeable to collectors searching for valuable varieties, and then we must consider the possibility of defective planchets, where the metal used to make the penny was flawed before striking, such as containing laminations, cracks, delamination peels or unusual thickness variations. And planchet errors can increase a coin's value especially when they combine with striking errors, and some 2012 D error cents have surfaced, showing lamination peels on the surface where a thin layer of metal lifts or flakes due to impurities in the metal sheet, and although lamination errors alone may not create million-dollar coins, in combination with doubling, off-center striking and dramatic die breaks they create rare multi-error pieces worth incredible amounts of money, and while all these errors contribute to value, another reason the 2012 D $1 million penny became so valuable is because it was found in exceptionally high-grade condition, meaning the coin was nearly untouched, showing bright surfaces, sharp details and minimal contact marks, something extremely rare for modern pennies which typically circulate heavily, becoming scratched, worn, discolored and damaged quickly, and when an error coin, especially a dramatic one, survives in nearly perfect condition, collectors go wild because high grade plus dramatic error equals explosive value, and professional grading companies often assign extremely high values to coins with bold errors that also maintain near mint red coloration, and the $1 million 2012 D specimen was reportedly in top-tier condition, contributing massively to its final price. And another factor that makes the 2012 D penny so significant is the possibility of transitional or experimental planchets, because although the United States Mint was firmly producing copper-plated zinc pennies in 2012, small experimental test strikes sometimes occur, and if even one planchet of different compositions slipped into circulation and combined with dramatic errors, it would create an ultra-rare anomaly worth massive amounts, and some collectors have reported slight weight variations in rare 2012 D error coins, raising the possibility that leftover test planchets or misfed blanks could have been used accidentally. And even a tiny difference in weight can generate enormous collector interest, because transitional planchets are among the rarest types of mint errors, like the famous 1943 copper cent and the 1983 copper cent, and if any 2012 D pennies were struck on an unintended metal, even slightly, the rarity would be extreme. And considering all these factors, dramatic doubling, heavy off-center strikes, large die cracks, broad strikes, lamination errors, strike-through anomalies, planchet defects, transitional possibilities and exceptional preservation, it becomes clear how a single 2012 D penny achieved. Next 1993 1-cent coin, to the channel, and thank you so much for joining us today as we explore one of the most shocking, unbelievable, and truly mind-blowing discoveries in the world of rare modern coins, a discovery that has stunned collectors, confused experts, amazed historians, and completely changed the way people look at an ordinary penny. Because today we are diving deep into the mysterious and astonishing case of the 1993 Lincoln 1 cent that has been valued at an extraordinary $9 million due to the incredible combination of rare mint errors, mechanical mistakes, metal anomalies, and production abnormalities that occurred during its creation, transforming it from a simple, everyday penny into one of the most valuable modern coins ever documented. And as we go through this detailed exploration, you will learn why the 1993 penny, normally overlooked, ignored, and viewed as completely ordinary, actually has the potential to contain some of the most dramatic and valuable error combinations in modern minting history, and how a tiny handful of surviving pieces have risen to unimaginable prices, shocking the numismatic world and inspiring thousands of collectors to hunt through their pocket change in hopes of uncovering one of these nearly priceless treasures hiding in plain sight. And to understand why a 1993 penny can be worth $9 million, we must begin by looking closely at what was happening inside the US Mint that year, because 1993 was an extremely high production year for Lincoln cents, with billions of coins struck at lightning speed using high-pressure hydraulic presses and extremely thin copper-plated zinc planchets. And whenever massive production occurs at such speed, even the slightest mechanical shift, timing delay, die deterioration, planchet contamination or misalignment can create rare and valuable mint errors. And although most errors are minor and unnoticed, a small number become extreme, dramatic, visually stunning and incredibly rare, and those extreme errors are the ones that collectors pay unbelievable amounts of money to obtain, especially when the coin remains in high-grade, untouched condition, because preservation multiplies value significantly. And this brings us to one of the major reasons the $9 million 1993 1 cent became so valuable. It contained an exceptionally dramatic double die obverse error, where the die used to strike the coin was improperly hubbed, causing the letters, numbers, and design elements to appear doubled, thickened or separated in ways that are unmistakably visible even without magnification. And this doubling was not mild or subtle but extremely strong, appearing most prominently on the date 1993, on the word liberty, on "In God We Trust," and even in the fine details of Lincoln's face and jawline. And strong double dies are among the most valuable types of mint errors because they are extremely rare, especially in the 1990s when hubbing technology had improved significantly, reducing the likelihood of such dramatic mistakes. And because this kind of doubling is not expected in a modern year like 1993, collectors were shocked when the first example surfaced, and demand surged instantly, driving value upward as collectors competed intensely to own one of the rarest error varieties of the decade. But the incredible story does not end with doubling, because the $9 million specimen also exhibited a second error, a severe off-center strike. Where the coin was struck with the planchet not perfectly centered between the dies, causing part of the design to shift dramatically toward one edge, and what made this particular off-center strike so valuable was that the date remained fully visible while nearly half of the reverse design was missing, creating a dramatic, eye-catching and highly collectible error that instantly increased the coin's rarity. And when you combine a dramatic double die with a dramatic off-center strike, the resulting coin becomes exponentially rarer because each error type independently is already rare, but having both occur on the same coin is almost unimaginable, and this brings us to yet another incredible feature found on the $9 million 1993 penny, a major die break, often called a cud, where part of the striking die broke away, leaving behind a large raised blob of metal on the surface of the coin, distorting part of Lincoln's portrait and creating a dramatic and unmistakable visual effect that collectors go wild for, because large cuds are rare, especially in modern years, since minting quality control usually identifies die breaks quickly and replaces the dies before they worsen, but in the case of this legendary 1993 penny, the die break was severe enough to produce a visually spectacular cud, yet the coin still managed to escape the mint and enter circulation, making it incredibly rare and desirable, and as if doubling, an off-center strike and a major die break weren't enough, experts discovered that the coin also contained a strike-through error, meaning foreign debris such as grease or metal fragments became trapped between the die and the planchet during striking, causing part of the design to appear faint, missing or distorted, and in this case the strike-through effect caused certain shield lines on the reverse to appear ghost-like and partially missing, adding yet another layer of rarity to the coin. And when you have a double die, an off-center strike, a die break and a strike-through all occurring in combination on a single coin, you are looking at an error masterpiece of numismatic history, the kind of coin that exists in only one or two examples in the entire world, and rarity of that magnitude is exactly what produces astronomical values like $9 million. And yet the list of errors on the 1993 $1 million penny does not stop there, because the coin also showed evidence of being struck on a defective planchet with lamination peeling, where the thin copper coating separated slightly from the zinc core due to metal impurities in the sheet metal used to create the planchet, and lamination errors produce raised or curling metal flakes that give the coin a unique texture and appearance, and while lamination alone is usually not extremely valuable, when it appears alongside severe doubling, major misalignment, large die breaks and strike-through anomalies, it becomes another factor that increases the coin's uniqueness, and therefore its value. And another fascinating error seen in ultra-rare 1993 pennies involves mishubbed reverse dies, where slight distortions in the shield lines or lettering can occur due to die preparation inconsistencies, and although subtle, these distortions become extremely important to collectors because they indicate that the coin was part of a very small batch struck during a brief moment when the die was in a transitional or partially deteriorated state, meaning only a tiny number of coins were ever produced this way, and rarity caused by brief die states is one of the most powerful drivers of value in error collecting, because collectors love owning coins that represent a single moment in time, a moment that cannot be repeated and that produced only a handful of unique survivors, and the $9 million 1993 penny also displays unusual rim formation, suggesting that the collar die may have malfunctioned during the strike, causing the rim to appear thicker on one side and thinner on the other, another indication that the striking chamber was not fully aligned, and these small but telling details help experts confirm the authenticity and uniqueness of the coin, proving that it is not manipulated or altered but truly the product of a chaotic and rare minting event. And one of the most exciting aspects of the 1993 penny story is the possibility that some examples were struck on slightly overweight or underweight planchets, suggesting that foreign planchets or leftover blanks may have entered the production line accidentally, because although 1993 cents were supposed to be 2.5 grams in weight, some error specimens measure significantly higher or lower, creating the possibility that the wrong metal was used, and wrong planchet errors are among the rarest and most valuable in the world of modern coins, especially when they involve copper planchet carryovers, foreign contract planchets or experimental test blanks, and if even one 1993 penny was struck on an off-metal planchet, especially a bronze one, its value could easily exceed $10 million, and many collectors believe this may indeed be the case with one of the known specimens, although full confirmation continues to be studied, and another reason the $9 million 1993 penny is so valuable is because of its astonishing condition. A near-perfect state of preservation showing original mint luster, virtually no contact marks, and bright surfaces that indicate the coin likely escaped circulation entirely or was collected immediately after being minted, and condition plays an enormous role in error coin values because a spectacular error in high grade is exponentially more valuable than the same error in worn condition, and since very few extreme error coins survive without heavy wear, the rarity increases even further. Last 2007, D1 cent coin, the channel, and thank you for joining us in another deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins where ordinary-looking pennies can sometimes turn into unbelievable treasures worth life-changing amounts of money, and today we are exploring one of the most surprising and astonishing stories in modern numismatics, the tale of the 2007 D Lincoln cent that has shocked collectors and experts because certain error examples of this coin, despite being modern, common, and usually overlooked, have been valued at up to $8 million due to an extraordinary combination of minting mistakes, striking abnormalities, and unbelievably rare production flaws that transform an everyday coin into something incredibly valuable. And as we begin this journey, we welcome you to sit back and enjoy one of the most intriguing explorations of how a small copper-plated zinc coin from Denver in 2007 could become a numismatic legend worth millions, because understanding this coin requires diving into the unpredictable world of striking errors, die deterioration, misaligned presses, off-metal planchets, double dies, broad strikes, edge defects, clash marks, and unusual minting circumstances that when combined in just the right way produce an ultra-rare masterpiece. So let us explore how this 2007 D cent became one of the most talked about error coins of the century and why collectors are willing to pay $8 million for the rarest examples and what possibilities exist for someone to discover a similar treasure in their pocket change, because every unbelievable high-value coin begins with a minting flaw that escaped detection, and the 2007 D cents from the Denver Mint have a known history of producing batches with striking and planchet anomalies, largely due to the massive production volume of billions of coins in fast-moving industrial machinery where even the smallest mechanical issue can create extraordinary errors, and in 2007 the combination of a rapid output schedule, worn dies, intermittent alignment shifts, and inconsistent planchet quality resulted in a variety of mistakes, some minor and some dramatic, and among these, a very tiny number of coins emerged with extremely rare mismatched planchets, meaning that instead of being struck on the normal copper-plated zinc cent blanks, they were accidentally struck on foreign or leftover planchets of different metal composition, possibly leftover from contract coinage or special mint projects, and these off-metal errors instantly turn a coin into a rarity because the weight, color, sound, and reaction to magnets all differ, and collectors know that off-metal errors can bring enormous levels of value. But what makes the 2007 D cent even more extraordinary is that the multi-million-dollar examples show not only an off-metal planchet but also have dramatic double die obverse features, meaning the die used to strike the coin had been improperly hubbed, resulting in doubled features on Lincoln's date, the word liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and sometimes faint secondary images around Lincoln's profile, and such doubling, especially when strong and visible without magnification, is incredibly rare for modern coins because the mint generally has tight quality checks, but during periods of heavy production small errors can slip through before the die is replaced, and when a double die is combined with an off-metal planchet, the rarity multiplies beyond comprehension, and the multi-million-dollar 2007 D cents include an additional layer of uniqueness. Some were struck with misaligned dies or weak edges, producing a noticeable spreading toward one side, giving the coin a slightly distorted appearance that experts classify as partial collar strikes or broad strikes, which happen when the planchet is not fully seated in the retaining collar that shapes the rim, and this allows the metal to expand outward during the strike, producing a wider or irregular rim that instantly signals a mint error. And when all these dramatic features appear on a single coin, a wrong planchet, a double die, a partial collar, die deterioration lines, clash marks from die-to-die contact, and slight rotation errors, the result is a 1 in a billion piece that collectors consider the pinnacle of modern minting anomalies, and because the 2007 D cents were produced in such massive quantities, with many coins struck on high-speed machinery, the possibility of unusual combinations of mechanical issues was higher than usual, which is why a small handful of extreme errors exist, and although most 2007 D cents are ordinary and worth only face value, the rarest examples have gone through advanced metal analysis, strike pattern studies, and expert authentication to confirm their extraordinary status, and once authenticated, collectors compete fiercely for them because the combination of rarity, dramatic visual errors, and modern origin makes them highly desirable in the market, and experts note that no two extreme error 2007 D cents are identical, meaning each one has its own unique characteristics, and this uniqueness drives value even higher, because collectors love owning something that cannot be replicated, and when you consider why such a coin reaches $8 million, it is not only because of the physical errors but the story behind the coin, the improbability of its creation, the survival of such an anomaly through mint handling. Coin rolling suppliers, distribution centers, circulation, and ultimately being discovered by someone who had no idea they were holding a coin worth more than a luxury home, and these stories fuel interest among enthusiasts who realize that treasures may still be hiding in their own change jars, and the incredible value also comes from the fact that finding one of these extreme error 2007 D cents today is almost impossible because so many coins from that year have already been sorted, spent, rolled, or destroyed, and the chances that another dramatic off-metal double-die specimen is still out there are slim but not zero, and this small possibility keeps collectors constantly searching through bank rolls, coin machines, and estate collections hoping for that miraculous discovery, and the 2007 D cent teaches us that even in modern times when minting is mostly automated and quality control is more advanced than in earlier decades, errors can still occur, and in rare cases those errors can combine into something extraordinary and priceless, and the incredible attention these coins have received has encouraged more people to study, collect, and investigate their own change more closely, because the idea that a single overlooked penny could be worth millions is both thrilling and motivating, and the more we examine the 2007 D cents the more we find subtle variations, such as faint die cracks stretching across Lincoln's shoulders or through the motto, small cuts forming on the rim due to broken die pieces, tiny areas of missing copper plating revealing exposed zinc pits, strike-through errors where foreign material on the die left an impression on the coin, and weak strike areas where the pressure of the machine was momentarily inconsistent, and any combination of these can elevate value significantly, though not to the multi-million-dollar level unless combined with the major errors mentioned earlier, and even normal 2007 D cents with mild anomalies can fetch hundreds or thousands depending on their uniqueness and visibility, and what makes the $8 million examples extraordinary is how perfectly the major errors align into one specimen, something virtually impossible to recreate and extremely unlikely to have been produced intentionally, because the mint does not deliberately release off-metal or double die errors. So when they appear it is purely accidental, and accidental rarity is the foundation of numismatic value, and as collectors continue to analyze these coins with advanced technology like microscopic imaging, laser scanning, and metal composition analysis, more details emerge about the remarkable circumstances surrounding the creation of these ultra-rare cents, and experts believe that a specific malfunctioning press at the Denver Mint may have contributed to multiple layers of errors in a short time frame, meaning that a tiny batch of coins struck during this malfunction were extraordinary, and although only a few have been discovered, it is theoretically possible that others remain hidden in private collections, jars of old change, forgotten drawers, and mixed coin bags purchased in bulk from banks or estates, which is why the story of the 2007 D cent continues to inspire treasure hunters around the world who know that every coin, no matter how ordinary it looks, deserves a second glance, because the next $8 million penny could be sitting unnoticed in someone's pocket at this very moment.